Okay, glad you're back on the Investigative Journal on this Wednesday. Greg Anthony here. And let me give you a warning in this show before I even start. Warning, you are going to hear dogs bark. If you don't like it and you like listening to a lot of COINTEL people on other shows, then go right ahead and do that. But you will hear dogs barking because I can't afford a professional studio. That's the price you pay when you talk about the Vatican the way I have over the years, and also have been so stupid that you don't know how to really communicate on social media. I am really tired of social media, to be honest with you, and everybody's looking for this work-at-home job. What is more boring than sitting behind a computer talking to people all day? It's the worst thing in the world. I remember when I really was working on a regular radio station, you get up in the morning, you walk, you have coffee with somebody at the coffee shop, you go into your studio, you say hi to everybody, you got a producer, you got people around, everybody, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're on the air. And that's fun. Sitting here talking behind a computer is the most boring thing in the world, and I'll tell you, sometimes I'm pulling my hair out every day I do this, and wonder why I even do it anymore, for the little cash I get for it. But, you start something, you want to finish it. I guess I'll finish it the day I die. I don't know. But today I want to cover one story that came across my desk, and frankly, I'm tired of these stories. I've been doing it for over 20 years. And nobody seems to care. I mean, there's a few people on the internet who care. But 99% of the American people could care less if there's 80 million Vatican pedophile priests. And they're still going to sit in the pews and say, we have a good church, we'll make it better, don't worry, we'll work to do that. Then the Vatican will put out all these stories that, we've let everybody down, but we're going to crack down on this. They are not going to crack down on this. It's going to get worse. Pretty soon there won't be a Catholic Church, thank God. But they're going to create something even worse than that, a Luciferian church that everybody will believe in. And then everybody can come to church. The latest thing is that they have, this idea that men are men and women aren't women anymore. This whole idea spread about, they have now gender neutrality. They're going to have to put this on your applications when you work. So you're going to get a choice, male, female, gender neutral. What the hell is gender neutral? You're neither a man or a woman? What are you? Put on there, I'm a rhinoceros, I'm a Doberman Pinscher. That's closer, How absurd will this get? Well, it's going to get worse and worse and worse if you allow these globalists and the Vatican Luciferian New World Order to continue this nonsense and indoctrinate your children with this all over the place. Well, the story today that I want to concentrate was sent to my desk. It just came out August 27, 2018. It's an old story. It's been hidden for 50 years, but now's the time to talk about it after kids have been killed and molested and whatever. But sure, let's talk about it now, and then let's have all the people in the that go to the Catholic Church or look at from afar go, they'll get better, don't worry. Here's the title: We Saw Nuns Kill Children, The Ghosts of St. Joseph's Catholic Orphanage. What's my experience with Catholic orphanages? I've never been in one, but let me tell you how close I got. My mom passed away when I was 10. I had a little brother 6 months old. And we were involved, and I was going to a Catholic school, grade school. The Monsignor came over one Sunday, thinking to help our family. My dad had to start all over, Dr. Bill's out the yin-yang. He was starting a new trucking company, and had to sell our farm, everything, to pay for my mom's medical bills. And so you think the Monsignor's coming over to help us out. We'll run a church drive, we'll run a bazaar, we'll run a, something to help your family out. Comes in the house, sits down. My dad sits down. How you doing, Monsignor? I'm sitting there holding my little brother. I'll never forget it. And the Monsignor starts saying, Tony, my dad's name is Tony, I think it's best we put your kids in an orphanage. Before the word orphanage got out, my dad stood up, grabbed the guy by the neck, put him up against the wall and said, you ever say that again, I'll kill you. Then he threw him out the door. The priest went running down the street yelling. And everybody in the neighborhood was looking on. And after he left, a number of people came over and said, Tony, that was the best thing in the world. What happened? Everybody was laughing. You threw a priest down the stairs. Watch the Catholic Church try to sue you now. Right. Never heard from that Monsignor again. But that's about as close as I got. They want to put me, we used to have an orphanage near me. It was called Boys Town, no, St. Mary's Orphanage in Wheeling or something near Chicago, somewhere out there. That would have been great. What a life I'd have had. But anyway, thanks to my dad for not getting rid of us. But anyway, so we see this story. We saw nuns kill children. The ghosts of the Catholic Orphanage. Recently, people are going crazy in America because, there's been this story that 300 priests in Pennsylvania have screwed over and literally raped and all this garbage with over 1,000 children. That's the tip of the iceberg. It's been going on for 50 years. Finally comes out? Yeah, right. So what are they going to do? Oh, here's what happens. Devout Catholics get on and say, we're not going to let this destroy our church. Your church is already destroyed. It's always been destroyed. Get with it. Read some of the articles I've written over the years and talked about, along with other people who've tried to trumpet this message all over the place. I mean, maybe I should just give you a little list here. I'm just going to do it off the top of my head before we get to this story. And I do want to mention, though, this crackdown on Alex Jones on the media, the media supposed crackdown on Alex Jones, a.k.a. Bill Hicks. We'll get to that. I want to spend maybe 5 minutes on that. He doesn't deserve that, but I know there's some people out there probably wondering about it and don't have, I'm not saying I got all the inside information, but I do have a little bit more than most people. And I'll get to that in a second. But let me get to this story. So we're going to talk about the story that came out on BuzzFeed. Christine Kennerly wrote it on August 27, 2018. It's an old story. And the title was, We Saw Nuns Kill Children, The Ghosts of St. Joseph's Catholic Orphanage. Okay. Why do these stories disgust me? Because, you know something? How long can you talk about this before people realize there's no hope? So you got all these Catholics now on TV, mainstream TV, going, we're going to change our church. We're going to now make it good. We can't just let these people... Who's destroying? It's been destroyed from the top down. Then you hear... I love these Protestants get on and they go, you know something? And these are the pundits. I heard this guy. I was about ready to put my fist through the TV. He goes, and he's on there all the time on Fox. He goes, you know something? We shouldn't be too fast to pull down the hammer on the Catholic Church. Just look at all the atrocities that our churches have been involved with. Look at ourselves first. Give me a break. Get rid of all of them, because Protestantism is over. Where's the protest in it? And there's, you go into these Protestant churches now, and it's like going into a rock concert, and then you get the bald-headed priest or pastor. And that bald symbol is interesting if you start looking at it. Giving you the hook 'em horns Lucifer sign, and you sit there and go, my God, is he a Jesuit or not? Who cares? They're infiltrated. So you don't have anything. Get rid of all of them. And that's what they really want to do, because they want to usher in some kind of catastrophe that's going to then say, Jesus came back and we're the new church and come to us. That'll be even worse. That's the Luciferian Antichrist church they're creating. The one world government, the one world religion. They're getting ready for it. So if they destroy Rome, they don't care. They're going to build up another one. Everything changes, right? So you're not going to get rid of them, ever. So let's get back to this story. So then you get the big story. It comes out just the other day. Oh, we got to get rid of Pope Francis. You're right. Get rid of all of them. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to have another Christ on earth? How many do you want? You got Benedict, and you got this one now. How can you have two? That's my major question. That shows you that this whole doctrine that the Vatican supports, how the Pope, became infallible, is insane. And so we got this whole argument now going that the Pope should resign, and this is high up in the Vatican now, because he helped a pedophile priest, a bishop or Cardinal McCarrick, get back into the church after Benedict censored him and said, "You can no longer be a priest. You're going to, you can't talk publicly because you've got a dossier about a foot thick about your pedophile actions for the last 190 years, or however long he's been born and alive." And so then Francis, after Benedict decides, he wants to retire and play golf, he takes over and exonerates McCarrick and allows him to do everything else, send him somewhere else to do it. And so now they say, get rid of Francis. It doesn't matter who they get rid of. It's always going to be the same. They'll just put some other guy in there. So when I do a story like this, let me just give you a brief history of how many of these stories have done. And I'm not even going to, let's start out with a couple of the girls that I'd met that were in satanic worshiping ceremonies deep in the bowels of the Vatican, that witnessed them kill little children on a golden altar or whatever. Then we can start out about all the pedophilia I heard about in Rome. We can start about the street in Rome that used to serve as prostitutes right next to the Vatican. It's changed. Now they sell holy water and all this garbage there. But it used to be the brothels to the Vatican priests who just go over there and get serviced. And then on the other side of the street was the homosexual area. And that's changed. So that's just a couple little things. And then we go on to stories like, how about the sister that talked about rape and murder in the cloistered convents that we've done. And we did a huge story about her many years ago. Sister, I can't think of her name, but other people have talked about that. You think that would be enough? I mean, the story is amazing. She escaped, but she talked about how these priests used to come there and just rape these nuns, or the nuns would have to submit to. I mean, it's insane. That's not enough in these cloistered nunneries, right? And then we go to the Duplessis orphan story in Canada. We go to, and you just look up all these. It's all sick. Kids being killed in orphanages used by the Vatican and the governments to experiment on them with Nazi doctors. Then we go to stories like how they started their mission schools, the Jesuits in America and Canada, to genocide all these Native American kids. We talked, I had at least on my show, a couple victims, and one girl who said she witnessed a priest kill and bury a little baby under an altar on one of the Indian reservations, and there never could be an investigation. They never, even years later, she was so frightened as a child, but as she grew up and she wanted to get justice, no one would investigate this, and there is no statute of limitations on murder. And then the stories continue. God knows how many priests all over the country, and the world, Ireland. You go to every country, you're going to find a number of them. This isn't just like, we got a bad apple in the basket. You got a bad apple tree that needs to be cut down. How is that for putting it? So anyway, I'm going to get to this. Let me check the time. And like I said, you're going to hear dogs barking in this show, so don't listen if you don't want to. And the reason I say that is because I've done it for over how many years, and I've always had dogs barking, not on every show, but on a lot. And now I just got more dogs. And I've had a talk with them before the show, and they said, free speech. Are you trying to, yeah, here we go. They're cutting me down by saying, you're not allowing us to have free speech. We're trying to protect your house, and you're trying to muzzle our speech. I said, okay, the Constitution allows you to bark as well. So that brings to mind muzzling Alex Jones. Boy, and every time I see this story, I see headlines like, crackdown on Alex Jones on could fuel more conspiracy theories. Apple, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify. Alex Jones, thank you. Thank you. Muzzle this guy all you want. He's going to go get richer and richer as he moves along. And the thing they're muzzling is the guy who works with them. He is their representative on the alternative media. And you can just research that for yourself. We're not even going to get into the fact that he could not even be Alex Jones. There wasn't Alex Jones before Alex Jones. And before Alex Jones became Alex Jones, or Bill Hicks took over, there was another guy, if you go back, and there's only a couple little references to that left. I mean, a couple videos of him. I saved one, a show that he was doing prior to the big fat Alex Jones on there now, and that gruff voice that he learned how to do. But the original guy was nothing like this. And I think they got rid of him, the CIA, because he wasn't as entertaining. And so then they figured, whoa, let's get Hicks. And somehow they had to cut a deal with Hicks because he's not going to do this for nothing. And as the years passed, I remember when I used to have a show right after Alex Jones on Genesis, and got to know him, used to be on his show, not knowing he was a COINTEL guy then, but learning by being around there. And by being basically muzzled back then by him, by not allowing me to speak about the Vatican this way, because years ago he didn't talk at all about them. Now he is basically talking about how there's a bad side and a good side of the church, Francis being the bad side. So, you know, he's progressing. They have to change with the times, and he's their spokesman. He's their COINTEL guy here. So it didn't surprise me in the least when they Apple, YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify shut him down. Why did they do that? Well, there could be a myriad of reasons. But one, he represents what most people on the internet think to be this truth freedom guy. Now, most people that get to know him will realize what I'm saying. But that's a minority. So what they're really doing is shutting him down. He's not going to ever get shut down. And the more they shut him down, the more money he makes. He's happy. Hicks has made millions on this. And I've watched him grow from the beginning. Well, he wasn't making as much when I had my show on that station. But I saw this kind of, popularity of InfoWars, what he did, how they set him up, the money they spent to get this guy going. This didn't come from his pocketbook and from the listeners. Let me tell you that right now. And I can tell you a story. Why don't I here for a few minutes, and then we'll get to the stories I really get tired of doing, but I have to do them because I've covered them for over the years. But back in the day, there was a couple of stations that were COINTEL. I worked at one where I used to go into their office in Round Rock, Texas, Republic Broadcasting. And then there was Genesis from a different town, but Jones was the mainstream guy on that. He was what built Genesis Radio. There's two big stations back then before YouTube, Facebook, and all this garbage, Spotify, Immortify, whatever we have out there now. And those two stations, I got to know intimately one because I came into the office every day. It was a beautiful office, a lot of equipment. And I was there a while, and what I said to myself was, where does this money come from? Because they don't have much advertising. And I know that most truth seekers are poor as hell and not going to donate the hundreds of thousands that must have been given to these guys to get this going. And so that came to me after I started realizing what was going on, and I got fired for being a one-trick pony. They said, you can't just talk about the Vatican every day. I said, nobody else does. Why can't I? And by the way, my show was becoming very, very popular. So they had to get rid of me, really. Or they gave me an ultimatum. Either you stop covering as much and get on the ball here or leave. And I did. Well, I didn't leave. They shut my show off right in midstream when I refused. And I look back on it and go, man, you're stupid. Look at all the money you could have made. Look at these guys. All right. What are you going to do? So Alex Jones, when you read about it, don't forget to look into the fact that he works with them. So they're going to come down on the big guy here, and this is going to have a trickle effect for everybody else, right? First, it gives an idea of how many people really follow him. Secondly, he gets this bully platform now so that everybody in the mainstream can see how, oh, we finally shut down these stupid people who talk about these things. That's what they're doing, because I checked out on mainstream. He's all over the mainstream. He's in the New York Times. He's in the Washington Post. He's on Fox. He's on CNN. Stories about him. Coverages from both angles, everything. And did you hear, there was one guy on Fox that said, we support that. We can't support, we don't agree with the craziness of Alex Jones, but we can't support this shutdown of our First Amendment rights. And you can see that I agree with that, because I allow my dogs to speak anytime they want on this show. And they asked me, they said, hey, we're trying to protect your house here. You're going to shut us up, muzzle us? I wish they'd have muzzled Jones a long time ago, but they control him. I mean, he's in their ball game. He's in their team. So once you start figuring that out, you can look at it from a little bit different angle. Because in the end, you cannot have a global government, a one-world government, a one-world religion with freedom of speech and a constitution like ours. So it's going to be more like China. And nobody knows. Do you know in China now? You don't think these tech giants and this technical age isn't going to control you? And in China right now, there's what? 1 out of every 5 Chinese people in the world are Chinese. And they've instituted a way to control their population. They're beginning with it. And they're going to have over 600,000 cameras all over the place, facial recognition. And their main idea is this. They have a way of saying, quantifying you on a percentage basis, whether you're loyal to the Chinese government and you're loyal to China. And they have all kinds of ways to gather information. They're going to do it on all of their citizens, as many as they can, as well as Chinese here in America. And they've started on it. I've seen the tech, what they're doing. I've seen the little technical things. They rate people. You see them coming through a camera. Then they've already discussed that they get their facial recognition. They put up 92%. Based on everything they learned about this guy, he's going to be a loyal citizen. Now, the ones that go under, I don't know what the percentage is, but there are actual people in China talking, saying, if we got a 60%, we can't buy land, we can't travel. It's scary. That's what's going on in China. And they're also doing it here. Now, guess who helped them get this kind of the technological know-how? All our tech companies help them. They're making money off this. And so the reason they're making money off this is because this is going to come to everybody eventually. What goes down in China, you got to watch, because it's going to come here soon. If the only question is not if, it's when. And I don't know. I don't think I can give you a date on that, but it's moving to that direction. And when you start understanding the control that these tech companies have here, Facebook, YouTube, all of these giants who have basically now put in these algorithms and all these different things to control speech. And so if your government gets called out on it, what they've done is they've privatized controlling speech in this country. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse, because you don't know anymore how they do it. You don't know, if you put out a video, whether it's being censored or not. But they do censor certain words and certain things there. And we know that for a fact. So it's very dangerous. Back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.